To work with XMLs, I would advise you to download the XML pad. There are a lot of free versions available. Apart from XML pad, you can download anything. But for me, XML pad works best. So I have downloaded XML pad in advance. Now to export the corporate data model, I will simply go here and I will say import and export corporate data model. Import export corporate data model, and you can see in this screen there are two things. The first is select the action you want to perform, so you can either import it or export it. So right now we are interested in exporting it, but you can also import it by selecting a file from your PC. So let me export this data model and I will click on export. I have already exported this data model earlier and I have opened it with XML pad here. So you can see this is the data model which is defined for this particular instance. The on the top line number 2, you can see this is a DTD which is used. A DTD is nothing but it is a document type definition that defines the document structure and elements of your XML. For example, there are different HRIS element in this particular XML. In a release, you may see that some XML is in a new HRIS element is introduced or removed. So as a part of that, a DTD should correspond to that. Otherwise, you will see uh, error in the error in the XML while uploading, and it will validate the DTD. So let's look at the different elements here. So the first is the HRIS element. So what is the first HRIS element is the location group, and then there are different languages labels. So if you can see here, these are the different language labels which are maintained. Then there is a HRIS field. So after maintaining the labels, there is an HRIS field. So within location group, there is an HRIS field called code. So this is a HRIS field code for which the maximum length is 32. The ID is external code. Visibility is both. It is visible. It is a read and write. Permissions required is equal to true. So this is a required field. If you go to the HRIS element in the instance location group, this will be the required field for when you are defining the location group. So let's look at the second one, HRIS element. We are most interested in location, the third one. So the location, so we have, because we have worked on location a lot, so let's look at this one. So location is similarly HRIS element ID is location. Then the labels are defined for location, different labels are defined. So if you see here, these are the different labels. You can change the label. So for example, if you want to define for ENGV, you want to define say location UK. So I have defined this label as location UK, and for this location, the code, same code, location code, we saw that the location code was mandatory. So the maximum length is 32. The ID is external, visibility is both, and required is equal to true. Required is equal to true means it is a mandatory field on the when you define the location. So let's look at this in the instance here. So I will just go to manage org pay and job structure. I will go to location field and I will just check whether whatever we are seeing is in line with what we have configured. So you can see that code is marked as red asterisk. So this red asterisk means that this is a mandatory field. So this is coming from here because we have defined required is equal to true here. Then this code is the field. Then after that code there is a name. So after that we have defined name here. So you can see this is name is coming here. Then for the name field also there is a translations available. You can define anything, any translation. For description again the same, visibility is both, maximum length is 128, ID is description. Then status, similarly you can see description, status, and then location group, then start date. So start date is an exception, it comes on the top, but it is defined after location, after status field. End date, this is not, so end date is, if why we are not seeing the end date, because the visibility is set as none here, that's why we are not seeing the end date in the location object. Now let's look at the location group. So visibility is both, so that's why we are seeing the location group here. The next thing, then time zone, then next is time zone, visibility both, and then we have standard weekly hours, visibility both. So let's look at this one, standard weekly hours, and then geozone. So custom string 1, so custom string 1 is nothing but we have defined the different custom strings which are available here. Custom string 1, custom string 2, custom string 3. So these are the different custom string. If you want to define your own custom string, you can define anything. So for example, for this one, I will define, say, custom string. I will define, say, legal entity. Or I will define as test field right now. And then I can upload this XML, and that will give me the, so I will just save this record. Okay, so these are the different custom strings which are defined. Similarly, you have different custom strings. See, custom number fields. Then, so if you want to see it here, you can see it here. And we will also see this. So towards the, so towards the every HRIS field, there is a label. There is a then there is a translations. Then you have picked list and associations. So let me just go to one. This is the one where you have associations. So if you see on the right side, this is the associations which are defined here for this particular field. So associations are geozone and legal entity. So when we say geozone and legal entity, we already see the geozone here and the legal entity here. So why geozone is shown on the top? Because it is one to one, multiplicity is one to one, which means it is one to one relationship, and required is equal to false means this is not a required field. Same with the association ID, one to many, destination entity is legal entity, and required is equal to false. So let me make this as true and save this. So this is the location object. Now let us look at the uh, next object, which is pay range. So we have seen how to make the changes in the location object. We have made couple of changes, like we have changed the label, we have changed the association, we have made that association as true. So let's upload this now in the instance. So I will go here, I will say import and export corporate data model. I will say import, browse. So it says corporate data model uploaded successfully. Now let's look at the location object again.